Welcome to Igniting Inspired Inquiry, a space for real conversations with incredible humans. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here to open the door to reflection, resonance, and revelation. If you have a moment to like, share, subscribe, or review, I would deeply appreciate you sharing the love. This is a space for truth, trust, and the kind of insight that comes from simply being human. Thank you for being here. Let's begin. Here we are, and I'm very excited to introduce a host who has been a guide who has been recommended from another beautiful guest on the podcast, Meredith. And I'm excited to actually get to know you through this inquiry. So today, from another part of the world, we have Alex joining us. And where I'd like to start is if you could share with us, who is Alex?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on your platform. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to see where this conversation will lead because, like you, I like it to be kind of flow and bring us to the right place. Who I am, that's an interesting question because it seems like I do astrology, and the eighth house is the house of transformation of who you are psychologically. And now at this exact time, I have 5 planets there. So it's
Wow.
like my identity is shifting like now. So maybe I'll describe a little bit what people know me for would be I do art. I'm a visual artist. I do installation, but kind of energetic installations. And that has shifted a little bit in the past 3 years, where these recent works have been more like channeled works. And the ongoing show I have now in the city where I live right now seems to be more than just kind of art, but more kind of a energetic device for healing. So that's part of what I do. And at the same time, 3 years ago, I also created Roze Umbra, which is a kind of platform for visionary artists. The idea being that I think collectively the reason why we create is changing. Like, we're asking more questions. The art markets are reacting to that because there's less sales, there's less commerciality, if that's a word, and so people are wondering what's up with art, what's going on, why is this happening. And my inquiry, I have my own podcast as well, where I discuss with visionary artists, and I see it a bit like as a survey. I get to see the collective channels, what people are channeling on Earth, and why. So this for me becomes a complementary to my work as well, to understand the visions that come through me through the collective lens. And that's pretty much like at the moment, what I'm very grounded in is this, like art making, following the intuition through creating art and creating this movement for visionary art that also includes um, a a a grant offering that ends out being an event, the ephemeris event, where now I take all the application and I summarize them into like different topics and try to share this with the people that applied. Like, what are the trends? What are people channeling collectively? What is the imbalances in the collective psyche, and what are people trying to manifest? So I'll leave it at that for this introduction. If you have questions, I'm available. Yeah, just ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. And it's very much in alignment with this podcast. It's just being in the deep listening of the collective and really seeing what the truths are that are coming through for us all and where they align and then where they differ and what we can learn from that. And I think that that's really special. I'm already inspired by what you shared. So we'll see where that takes us. So we're going to dive into the first question, and one which is the common thread. And so far in all 29 episodes, everyone else has asked this question, and the answer is always divinely different. So I'm excited. So for you, Alex, what is one moment, belief, or experience that changed the way you see the world?
Yeah, so when I read that question you asked, there is so many, like I tell you, like the eighth house is transformation. I have two planets, so I'm constantly reevaluating beliefs. But I think, like, to go back to the essence of this question, like, I think understanding what is a belief, like studying the occult and the esoteric, and understanding what is a belief and what is the structure of belief and emotions and physicality and how this correlates, for me was a big moment, because yes, it changed my beliefs, but it also changed how I understand the mechanisms of beliefs. And like and so yeah, to go a bit deeper, like a belief exists in the mental plane through a sort of thought form that is kind of accepted. So it's like you take this thought form and you put it in a box in the closet of your mind and you just leave it there. And then from this kind of there are different energy bodies, it just transmutes into the astral body, which is the emotional body. And so it generates a current, and this current is active then in your nervous system and then to your muscles, and it generates an action. So understanding this really helped me understand the conditionings, the beliefs, and helped me see the bigger picture of all of this. And then the biggest belief change happened when I met this spiritual teacher. I mean, he didn't teach me anything that I had never heard, but taught it to me in such a concise and holistic way that it did open my mind to this conception. And it's basically the inherent belief, the socially conditioned belief that we are not whole, like this type of and that is linked with the consumer society we live in. We are born into a place that tells us daily that we need something. So we're always chasing something we desire. And desires are basically our identity. Like, I am Alex because I desire to do this, I desire to do this. And this has been sold back to us and creating this kind of lack mentality unconsciously. And this unconscious belief that we kind of all share, unless you're an enlightened master, but most people share this belief without knowing it, that you need something that you don't have. And this seems very simple, but like it changes everything when you do address this directly, and you understand that your DNA is the DNA of God. Like it is encoded on our genes, this kind of divine essence, and that it is a kind of mental virus that we hold in our mind. The Native Americans would call it the Wetiko. It's a mental virus that plagues humanity, keeps them from enlightening. And I had a guest on my podcast who also kind of confirmed this. His name is Paul Levy. He writes many novels about it through his kind of enlightenment process from being, put out, I don't know how to say, but he was put in a mental hospital because he had this big, Kundalini rising, and his family thought he was crazy. And for like many months, he was there having this weird, like kind of altered reality experience. And because no one understood it, he was not close to shamans and people that could actually guide him in this. Like, it was very hard for him to kind of assimilate back into society, which now he has through Buddhism. He found ways to reconnect to his body and then and then assimilate those experiences, and then he writes about it.
Mm-hmm.
And his teachings from his research is all about, he uses Jungian philosophy as well as Buddhism to communicate those, but he wrote 3 books on the Wetiko, which is a mind virus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an unconscious belief that is, has been there forever, like since the Roman Empire, when they started to like use magic and they implemented this in society. So that's
I love that.
a big
I love that in the question you found the answer, and that like when you said like what's one belief that's changed the way you see the world, and you said belief, and I understand that and I completely agree, and that's a big reason of why I do my work, was like that first coming to the depths of understanding that not everything we believe is true, not everything we believe is ours, and that what we believe can shift and can change, and that it's malleable. It isn't a permanence. And so I really love that answer, and what that can do to open our world up in that understanding, and how the trajectory of what we think and then therefore perceive, believe, can really change the vibration and the frequency in which we are holding and therefore sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, it is a big shift, because when you do understand this and face this part of it, I mean, then all of your other beliefs kind of become suspended, and you have to reevaluate them, and like, okay, what is this one? Where does this one come from? And I think that's also the role I've seen artists play, is like they create art that challenges beliefs. That's the powerful thing that artists do.
Absolutely. And I think that again is such a powerful seed to plant, is to understand and to consider what areas we are limited in because of the frame which we think, and where we can grow within that. And that is actually what I love about art, and I love about the complexities and also the diversity in what that can awaken within us, and therefore challenging some new thinking.
Yeah, definitely. That's a part also of why I do my podcast. I like opening, because a lot of artists, they're working with this kind of energy, but they're not fully aware of it. It's very intuitive, so like their spirit is working through them, and I like making it present and making it intentional, so that it becomes active as well in their work. So
It's incredible. Thank you. Beautiful. Here we are in question 2, which is in the moment. So Alex doesn't know what I'm about to ask. And actually this, as I was preparing for this podcast, well, I do a couple of days before, just dialing into the energy, and it dropped in yesterday when I was on my mat. And the question that I have for you, which I believe comes through me, so it's not from my deciding mind, is what do you believe that the older generations need to know?
well, this is something I've actually thought of, and I think it was like the last eclipse. I have like a lot of karmas unfolding in me with it when there's eclipses, and in the last eclipse, the big revelation that came to me was about, I'm gonna extend it. It's not necessarily about older generations, but it's about anyone that lives in the past.
Yeah, great.
So like, the age of Aquarius is a real thing. Like, it is this era that we're currently transiting into. And by my knowledge of astrology, it helps me understand those kind of shifts we're going through. Aquarius is a Saturn-led planet. Saturn is cold, is a very cold planet. Aquarius is a very intellectual, a very technological, focused on the future, on space travel, and all these kind of technologies. And we're shifting from the age of Pisces. Age of Pisces being a very watery, very kind of hierarchical structure, where like someone on top of you makes the bottom layer feel safe or not, and then they make people below them feel safe or not. So you always kind of your independence is always relying on something higher than you. You don't take your autonomy within your hands, which is very Aquarian. Aquarius is individuality. It's when the both hemispheres of the brain are connecting and your inner technology is active. So what I'm seeing and what I had as a revelation that eclipse is that most of humanity are still in the age of Pisces, and there's a few like futuristic Elon Musky like people that are like in the future, like trying to program AIs and like making robots. But the big thing is that most of humanity is still underwater, is still like holding on to old beliefs, old religions that worked for them because they made them feel safe for so long, and now this is getting ripped under them. And it creates a lot of suffering and a lot of fear, the fear of the future, which is so different. It's not like we're just changing a chapter, we're changing book. So like it brings a lot of fear of the uncertainty of the future. So I want to tell not just the older generation, but everyone, is to be aware of that, and that if you feel like you've had the kind of luck or whatever you want to call it, to feel safe in your body, feel safe in your culture, in your society, to reach out to those around you and understand that perhaps they are still stuck with generational trauma and different things that hold them in the past, to help them like with compassion and listening. And that's the best tool we have to help these people be more present, so that they can face the future with not as much fear and insecurities in a way.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about the older generation, but I know like sometimes there's like a curve, and once you pass the certain curve, you whatever you believed in the past is more rigid. So it's a bit harder to change beliefs the older you get.
Yeah, I
So
understand that.
that's why I think this idea that I'm just describing came to me when you asked this question.
Yeah. And I love your message around understanding that those of us who do feel safe in our body and do create that field of understanding can be that light for others and can show the way in a way and reflect that. And I think that it's also really important for those who are listening that do hear that and are like, oh yeah, of course I'm safe in my body, that is actually quite rare, and that's not the norm, so to speak. It's really powerful to acknowledge that and to let that be that guide of compassion, right? For those who are still operating from the first question, from beliefs that are really either not theirs or so unbelievably limiting. And then therefore that lack of safety or still working with the traumas and wounds of the life that they've been given.
And it's also because like it's not just like it feels like everything is being reinvented, the banking system, the economical, how the economy worldwide will work, the political spheres are changing, like dominance, people, even countries are shifting, and there's a lot of things that are ideas still, but that imply that a lot of shifts, almost like the tectonic plates are moving, like and stuff is being reshuffled, and people feel that intuitively, even if it's you see it in the news, you see it on your TikTok feed, but intuitively you also sense that a lot of change is coming, and that it's not the kind of change that during COVID it felt like this way, right? There's a lot of change, it might not come back, and then that's the fear, right? But then it did come back, not fully the same, but you still got to have your leisures and your daily pleasures back, going to the cinema, these kind of things. But it feels like the shifts that are coming our way are going to be bigger than that,
Mm-hmm.
like something we've never experienced, until before, like how can I say that? We've experienced it probably like 30,000 years ago when we were
Mm-hmm.
back at that threshold between Pisces and Aquarius.
Yeah.
But like we don't remember, our genes maybe remember, but
Yeah. It's huge. It's
yeah.
huge. And then another point that you mentioned was about like that level of unsafety and that not correlating with our ability to handle or embrace uncertainty. And then when, like you say, if everything is moving and evolving the way it is, there is a massive amount of that. And it's literally impossible to navigate that from an unsafe place, from a place that doesn't feel embodied and aligned, or where there is a level of trust and intuition and self.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the biggest, this mental virus, the Wetiko. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a big symptom of it, is that you're disconnected from your body, which is your present. It's the presence, and therefore you're like in your thoughts. You're in the future or you're in the past. Anxiety or like
Mm-hmm.
anticipation.
Yeah.
Like you're never fully just in your body, connecting with the electric qualities of the nervous system that is just sending signals, receiving signals from the environment, processing it in the present moment. You're
Mm-hmm.
always just in this activated state that actually kind of comes and interferes with all this
Yeah.
biofuel of the body.
Agreed. There's so
Yeah.
much to explore.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, moving right along, even though I feel like there's so much we could expand on, I would like to move into section 3, and then I'm going to ask about how we connect with you and what you do. And I've got another piece there. So, for here, it is reflecting light, and you have a question for me.
Well, yeah, I think like with what we've discussed and what intuitively is coming up, I think a good question for you: what advice do you have for people, even for me, to like connect more deeply with my body and my wisdom, the wisdom that's encoded in the body, and in this same way, like um, the stored traumas that exist within the body field?
Hmm, that's a beautiful question.
Mm.
And I think the first thing that comes up is no one person's road is the same, and it's never linear. And the reason I say that is because with the clients that I work with, it depends on the level of tools that you already have and what you're working with and what awareness is already within you and the ability to process that awareness or be with that awareness. But I think
Mm.
a collective answer is softness, slowness, and silence,
Mm.
and finding a way to be with that, because the world is busy and fast and noisy. And I think that that is what stops us from building a relationship with self. And it doesn't mean that it can't be there all the time. It's just these moments. And I call it the power of the pause. Like, I think that's the first step, is being, and I know that this is rare for a lot of people, is literally being able to sit with self.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the answer to that, and I know that would be broad for some people, is finding a way to be able to do that. So whether that's through gentle movement or mindfulness or breath work or with another, and that's what a lot of the space I hold for my clients is finding that way in, finding that level of safety, finding what needs to be released to feel that different level of comfort or at least connection to the body.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't one answer, but there's lots of them, and it is absolutely a passion of mine, is to be able to create that space and to be a guide for that for others. Um, what I saw when you were asking the question is journaling and the power of writing, because I do think that even neurologically, it connects different parts of our brain. It works with the motor sensory and it works with our emotional regulation, and it connects us to the amygdala and gives that a time to zoom back. And it also creates some neuroplasticity for us and understanding literally what's going through and what's going on. So it really helps us to, I guess, articulate life. It's more than just writing. Um, so there's that. I think that's a tool that a lot of people could find if they haven't before, really profound at what comes out.
I've even heard that different color ink changes the connections in the brain. Like
Mm,
different, depending on the color you use to write on, it actually has an effect on the brain. Like if you use red ink versus blue ink.
yeah.
I don't remember, like I can't tell you what the difference is, but if people are interested in that's a thing.
Yeah. And I don't know the colors either, but I know that like when I'm studying or trying to learn, I do try to mix up the colors as I'm learning because I think that that helps with the brain and with the absorption as well.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because the I'm doing my latest art project is called the Aeon of the Black Sun. It's kind of aligned with what I said at the beginning, but the main thing that I had intuitively the calling to create is this 9 foot mound of clay and spices that exists in the center of the art gallery.
Wow.
And inside it's hollow, so it's really like a womb. And again, that's maybe like 2 eclipses away. The insights I had was the advice you gave. So that the best way to connect with these parts of yourself is silence. Uh, yeah, silence and darkness. That's what I got. So that's
Mm,
what I tried to recreate in this earth mound, a place where you can go inside in silence in the dark,
mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you have no distractions, and then hopefully you hear your heartbeat, and there holds all the answers.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. And it's so true. And that, that's a really big part of like the retreats I offer and the medicine for myself is really just understanding that the slower we go, I really believe that slow is the fastest way to get where we want to go. But also that gives the space for us to find out the answers within ourselves, to find our own answers in our own way. And it's the fast pace that really is doesn't allow for that.
Yeah, and another way to see this also is like the fast paced usually is when we say fast paced, it's usually mean it's external.
Mm-hmm.
It's an external world, and
Agreed.
slowness often is evocative of the inner world,
Mm-hmm.
of going within. Because you could say like, oh, fast paced meaning I'm going inside my inner world fast, but usually we talk about the exterior world. So there is this aspect, I think, that yeah, the silence and the darkness allows you to connect with your unconscious mind, basically, which is the connection to your all the archetypes, the feminine archetypes
Mm-hmm.
from many traditions, is this void where everything is interconnected. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the mycelium network exists also
Yes.
on this other side, and you can connect with the source of everything when you're in silence in the dark, which of course will reflect you back what you want to know. But there's a lot more too. Like you could go
Agreed.
explore different parts of the cosmos in that same place. So
Mm-hmm.
there's many incentives to do it, not just
Yes.
healing but exploring also.
Exploring and I think being in the curiosity is very healing too. Curiosity of self,
Mm,
and then as you align with as well as in the creativity of
yeah,
it,
definitely.
which I think is a perfect time for us to segue into how people can connect with you and with what you're doing and what you've shared of today, and maybe a little piece of how that might help in that slowness.
Yeah. So you on social media, my account is alexcoma.world. This is more my art account and where I share news about the art shows I have and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my project, my sole project is Roze Umbra, so ROZEUMBRA. And that's also the same handle on Instagram. And there you'll find the Blue Hour podcast. So this is kind of the podcast where I interview different visionary artists. And then I also do astro tarot sessions. So I use the most ancient form of astrology. It's still used today, which is Jyotish. It's the North Indian system that I use. So it's very ancient, very precise. And I use this to connect with the minds of people. So the same way you were describing earlier that not every mind is the same. So like you can't, give the same answers to everyone. Well, with astrology, you can look at someone's moon and understand what aspects where is it placed. Like for me, my moon is in the second house, and my dreams, my most meaningful dreams happen in my childhood workspace, the most boring place ever. It's my second house of work. So my moon is polarized there. And so I get a lot of insights through dreams about my work. Kind of boring. So, but this is a tool I use, and then I use tarot to, like, once I understand a bit more about the person, to let my soul, through my intuition, connect with their soul and give intuitive advice and connect it with what I'm seeing in the chart and transits. So I do that through Roze Umbra as well. You can find this information, on my website. Yeah, I would say that rozeumbra.com. That's kind of like the three places that you can reach me.
Okay, beautiful. I love that. And all of those links will be in the show notes for this podcast, no matter where you're listening or viewing. And I really wanted to say thank you so much for being here. I feel like there's so many other areas that we could go, but this is our episode for today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It does feel like we just open a few cracks and then we could like explore them for a long time. But I think it'll give little sparks of inspiration that people can then open up themselves back home.
Agreed.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for, right?
Yep, it is.
Yes. So for those who are listening, thank you for being here. I hope that it sparked something in you, as Alex said. And if you'd like to keep the conversation, you can connect with us or any pieces and parts that you have questions for. We're here, or I'm here for it. And maybe you want to listen to this with someone else, and that sparks a conversation between the two of you. So until next time, stay curious, be kind, and keep the flame alive. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Trying to press pause, but it's not working. Thank you.